Hello, my name is Dave Merheje, and I would put Bad Bunny in my immigrant jam.
Hello, and welcome back to another beautiful episode of Immigrant Jam, the podcast where we talk to the most amazing, interesting, delicious, and nutritious immigrants in town. Today's a very special episode because we have the one and only Mr. Dave Merheje here. Not only does he have two specials out, one is called Good Friend, Bad Grammar. The new one is called I Love You, Habibi. He's won a Juno Award. He is on the hit television show Ramy. He is hilarious, amazing. He's from Canada, which means he's probably very, very, very disturbed, but nice on the outside. And his parents came to Canada from Lebanon. We'll find out how and why and all of that good stuff. Welcome to Immigrant Jam, the podcast, Mr. Dave Merheje.
I didn't know when you were going to welcome me. I was patiently waiting.
Okay, Bad Bunny. You would put Bad Bunny in your Immigrant Jam? Why?
I just came to my, I don't know. I think it just came to my mind.
Okay.
I feel I see him everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want to eat him now?
I'd cuddle him.
Okay.
If Bad Bunny was
Spoon
like,
him?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah,
if
spoon
I was,
Bad Bunny.
Especially now that it's cold outside. If he was in New York and he's like, hey, man, do you want to cuddle? I would. I'd like, yeah, man.
Yo, Bad
Why
Bunny.
not
I
Bad
think
Bunny?
he listens to his podcast, so he'll probably reach
Yeah,
out to you.
I'd be like, Bad Bunny, can we cuddle?
You know what? I actually think he'd be a great cuddler.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I think he'd cuddle you also with his sunglasses on. Part of me feels he'd keep them on.
For sure. Okay, Dave, you are from Canada.
Yes.
You were born there.
Yes.
Your parents are from Lebanon.
They came separately to
They came
Lebanon.
separately?
They came to this place called Windsor, Ontario, which is on the border of Detroit. So from what I could put the pieces together, my dad doesn't really explain stuff the best sometimes, but I think his sister moved and then moved everyone from
because
Lebanon.
of the Civil War.
Yeah, from what he's told me, my mom moved when she was like really young. She was probably 8 years old.
Ah, okay.
And she moved with her family. They were super poor, I believe, and I think she dropped out of high school to help work and stuff. She wanted to be a school teacher. She told me like years later, or I asked her like years ago, and then how it was explained to me is that my dad's sister was friends with my mom or worked together and then my dad went on a date with her and ghosted her.
What?
And then he was like, I think he was hollering at other women for sure, the way he put it. And then pretty sure that's where I get it from. He was being promiscuous. And his sister was like, you can't do that. You can't ghost someone. They didn't call it ghosting back then. So he went on a date with her. I think he married her like right after. I don't think it was. And she was like 19. Wow. He was like, I think closer to 30.
So did your parents grow up like with their Lebanese culture, sort of like carrying that on, or because if your mom was 8, then she
100%.
was. I was 8 when we moved here, and I don't feel very German.
No, she spoke. We speak Arabic in the house still. She kept it. There's also a huge Lebanese community in Windsor, and it's only gotten larger. Like at one point, our mayor was Lebanese.
Oh,
like
shit.
there was the
Wow.
Lebanese church.
So you didn't really feel like an outsider then, growing up there?
No. All my cousins and all of my grandparents lived in the same like kind of neighborhoods. So and my cousins, it's like we always had that community around, and we all went to church.
The Canadians were the outsiders in Windsor.
In Windsor, I mean, yeah. If you go back now, I think I went back I go back a lot, but I was one Christmas, I went to get like groceries. I think it was Christmas with my dad. And there's this street called Wyandotte, and it's heavily Lebanese, like with like grocery shops, shawarma, just like a bunch of stuff. So barber shops. We're in there, and this place had a shawarma place in the grocery store, and these older white couple, they were just too comfortable. And I was like, oh, man, times have changed. Like, they were just way too comfortable. I was like, I felt uncomfortable. And then I told my dad, I was like, yo, we got to get out of here. This old white couple is way too in the pocket right here. So I think It's just, yeah, I think that's why also, because I just went to Lebanon in June for the first time, and I'm like 42 years old. So I think a lot of the times, my dad really didn't, I think, want to go back from how the vibe I got from him. My mom has massive anxiety and germaphobe, hypochondriac, so I don't think she would have flew back. So they didn't really take us. So I went for the first time, and I went to their villages. Well, I mean, I went to my mom's, is more of a village, it looked like it, and my dad's was a city. So I went to Zahle, and she's from Serel. And I randomly, which is still the craziest thing I've ever been a part of, is we went to my mom's village, and I called my mom. The time zone is different on FaceTime. I was like, "Do you remember anything like that could help us find like a location or like a building that you remember?" And she said,
the treasure, the gold treasure that you
the
buried.
mummy. And so she's like, "There's this church," and my friend Paul is a comic as well. He was recording it the whole trip.
Wow.
Right. So he's recording, and we were with two other friends. We were actually with Natalie Akar, who's a very funny comedian.
I've had on this podcast as well.
And she was in Lebanon for a wedding too. So that we were all, so they were by like a convenience store looking place, and there was some gentleman outside of it. And then when me and Paul walked over, they were talking to this older man. And I think he said, I don't think he spoke English, like, what family, like, we're looking for this guy's mom, what family is it from? I was like, the Reshwan family. And then he goes, Saidi, Laila, Georgette. And I'm like, oh, it's my grandma, my mom, my aunt. And then he goes, 2 feet. And then I was like, what? And then he's like, yeah. He's like, I'll show you where they grew up.
Fuck,
and then he walked us over. And I FaceTimed my mom, and they haven't spoken since she was 8.
So he was related to you guys, or
he's like cousins, I think, of my grandmother.
Oh shit!
So he took us to the house where my mom grew up, where she was actually physically born, and I had her on FaceTime. And she's like, "Can you touch the door?" And then he's like, we couldn't get in because the people were out of town. So I called my brothers, my sister, called my grandmother. She's like 98, I think. My uncle George was on the phone. He lives with her. I was like, "George, this is where you grew up," and she's like tripped out. Then he took us to the church that they would go to. And I FaceTimed them, and he was hilarious because he at one point goes, first of all, I realize now, I don't know how he got the key to the church. Wow, this guy, the town is so small, I guess. And I have photos of it. There's like a glass case. I was so overwhelmed by everything. I mean, now if I went back, I'd be like, it's disgusting. They kept a priest from the 60s. Like, he's just a skeleton. What? So he's in this glass case, and he's like hunched over. They didn't even perch him up. I think he was just this religious figure. And then I'm like, it says don't touch or take pictures. I'm like, I guess the 2 feet was at the door, and we're like, yo, can we take a picture? And he like nodded his head.
He's like,
on some illegal
$5.
shit, yeah. And then we went to the main church, yeah, and then he took us to his place, and he was like excited, and he's like, in Arabic, it means come here. He's like, and he showed me this. He brought me and Paul to this area upstairs from where it's like apartment buildings, and he had like a tarp or a cover over something, and he took it off, and dust was flying everywhere. It was a DJ set.
Oh,
so he's
not
like,
a dead DJ.
No, that's crazy.
It's a DJ in a glass.
He kept the first DJ, and
it's a DJ set.
Like, he just started DJing, and he was playing like old music, and then he had lights and. It was so weird.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was trippy. And
he needs his own Vegas show.
I mean, it's really out. He had like, I feel like older immigrants love Rambo. So he had Rambo on DVD. And he goes, Rambo. they always love Rambo. It's like you're a hero.
Yeah.
And then me and Paul were dancing. And then my friend Reem and Natalie came up. It was just surreal because he also is a jokester. So I was like, oh man, maybe I get it from this guy. And my mom, my whole family's like really funny, but this guy was just he's fake falling down steps and stuff like that. Then he,
oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Then he took us to the high up mountains where this wild church was at. Like, we went into a cave that they would pray there. I guess when there was the war, they would hide there. And it was like cold, and then they took us to this other church. I remember crying in the church because I was like, because we were so kind of high up in the mountains, and it's beautiful. I was like, this is the first time I didn't really feel anxiety.
Huh. Like in your life, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I was because also we were so far away. The scenery was so beautiful. It was just like, and then I was like, man, she left this place I was like, what a beautiful, like it doesn't it doesn't compare to here or where I grew up. It's like the mountains. It just, you're detached from basically
too.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the time I was dating a girl and she liked to cook. So I wanted to get a gift. I mean, she wasn't really into gifts, but I was going to get oil, like olive oil.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't her thing. No, but I got olive oil from like the village basically, but it was in a Pepsi bottle.
Yeah, of course. They always do that. And, like a plastic bottle, right?
Yeah,
they take the label off.
And when she got it, she was like, holy, like it was a very like, she's like, this is very thoughtful. I go, yeah, it's like crazy. It's like this is like coming from their actual hands, you know? So we're in this convenience store. And I guess Tufi was like, yeah, he's in Arabic. He's like, he's from Windsor, Canada. And then the woman behind the counter was like, oh, my cousins, my nephews and nieces are from Leamington, Windsor area. I go, who are they? She goes, this is Scenes. I go, yo, that's my cousin. That's Sarkis. Wow. And the daughter, all of them, we took pictures, and she showed me her Facebook. I was like, yeah, it is my cousin. I know them. And then I sent pictures to them, and I was like, I'm with your aunt. Wow. And then we kind of like, we drove out. My dad's town wasn't, my dad didn't, he's like, I think it's over here, man. Like it was like like an intersection. It made no sense. I go, your house was here? I don't know, man. I'm like, his was like not as eventful because he just didn't know, or just, I don't know. And we ate in this like area where there's like grocery stores, like little shops, and the water like by a little river that the water ran through. And there was a Dunkin' Donuts in his which is wild to me.
That's crazy.
Right? Dunkin' made it that far. And it was like,
that's crazy.
Just to get a better understanding of where they're from was so, it gave like a little bit more perspective of who they are. And I was like, I know I got to videotape it and show them on FaceTime was something I could, I'm so glad I did because this life is not long, obviously. So before anyone passes or anything like that, at least I worked my way to get to Lebanon and then go to their towns.
And did it also give you like perspective on who you are too? Like did it I'm sure you like were also looking to answer some questions there maybe?
I mean, my mom's super religious, and her town or village is extremely religious, like Catholic, like there was saints everywhere, like pictures and stuff like that. And that's I understood why she's probably how she is. Faith-wise. For me, it was like, I just thought, I was like, imagine if I grew up there. You know what I mean? Like it was, and this is after the explosions. I don't really know the country and how it is to live there. But what I realized partying actually in a bar is like they party with so much thought and passion and love, because I think they're, here, I don't think they take it for granted. I guess it just felt like a different way of celebrating.
Like existential.
Yeah, it was like truly beautiful. Like we were in Beirut, our Airbnb, and it was like a street festival, like on a Sunday, and I was like drinking. I was drunk with no shirt on, and like just playing like they were playing like Drake, the DJ at this one bar, and it was just beautiful, man. And right across of it was a gas station that was like caved in from the explosions. They just kept it. And it was just, I don't know. I really, really, really.
There's like a sense of freedom a little bit, maybe.
I mean, it just was so beautiful. I mean, I have a different perspective because I didn't grow up there. I don't know. I'm gonna go back every summer. I didn't want to leave. I was there for 6 days. I was like, what a beautiful like place.
So you felt at home then, a little bit.
Yeah, I felt welcomed. I don't know.
Do you have an accent in Arabic?
Me?
Yeah.
Do I
can people tell that you didn't grow up there?
I mean, people don't know people don't think I'm from Canada as well. They think I'm from America because I use slang probably. Only a couple. If I say tomorrow, then you're like, he's Canadian.
No,
like,
in Arabic, I mean.
They probably thought I was like, when I spoke Arabic, it's choppy. I can understand everything. They could tell I'm not from there because I'd be like, Badiru, Honike, like finding my words and stuff. The street kids knew I wasn't from there because they robbed me. So
What? Really?
Well, they just took my Starbucks out of my hand and we were dying because they're like, do you have money? I go, no. And then the girl or kid took it from my hand. And
she just grabbed it?
She grabbed it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
If you go to fucking Lebanon and get Starbucks, then that's on you.
There was like a trippy part too that I knew this girl from here. She's like an actress. She's very, very funny, and I just knew her from like Instagram. And then I saw that she was in Lebanon. She's like she's half Lebanese, and we crossed paths.
Wow, coincidentally, like without setting it up.
Without setting it up.
In Beirut.
in Beirut,
Wow.
where we were staying. Like we crossed, which was wild to me.
Is it
Still,
big, Beirut?
I
Like I,
mean,
imagine it like super like busy and big
it's
and
busy. I
hustly,
think.
bustly.
I mean, but it's just still I mean, it's not. It's still crazy that you run into somebody that you.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, like even though there's like it was a street festival.
You were saying like, why did they leave here? It's so beautiful here, right? Does part of you ever like think that you might live there at some point?
Now that I went, I would, I would try to like buy something. Maybe, I don't know. I would, yeah, I would spend summers there for sure.
What do you think for people listening that like don't know anything about Lebanese culture? What's like a very Lebanese, like what for you is very Lebanese? Is it now that you've been the beauty of the country or the like warmth of the culture or the food or what is like?
I think
what,
it's the warmth of the culture and the pride. You know, I grew up in Canada most of my life, so I don't really. I don't want to say I'm not the. I am Lebanese 100%. I'm born Lebanese person, but from what I can tell from my family and my cousins and my uncles and my friends that are Lebanese, there is that warmth, and there's a sense of community, and you can just tell it's like very like they love it. We love each other. You know, when we love, I think. And it's like the thing of like, I don't know, that could be other Arab cultures as well. It's like, we want to take care of you.
Yeah, right.
If we love you, we're going to take care of you. And it's just like, and it's like, and it might be perceived as fake. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I think this country in Canada is jaded a little bit. And I think I even like now, like even dating is like, it's almost became uncool to love.
That's so
It's
true.
like, yo, man, you're corny, bro. You want to love me?
Yeah.
Like, even I just feel girls are even like, they became dudes in that mentality.
so
I was like, why you? They're like bullying
so
you.
true.
They're like, what are you crying again? It's like, when did this happen?
Yeah, and the communal, like community, right? Like
It's just like they think like, yeah, it's like fake almost. It's like you're doing this psychological thing. If you're doing this to please me, and then you're like, no, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so
Was it
true.
the Matrix? Like I get, yeah. Why would I be doing nice things to you to please you? I was like, so I think it just became like, not that it's great to have independence. I get it, but I mean, I think it went to the other side where it's like, I want so much independence that any kind of sense of like trying to take care of someone, you're like, hey, I'm not that. I'm going to lose my independency. But I don't know. I just know, even like if you're around a bunch of Lebanese people and you're trying to pay the bill, they'll fight each other till like somebody, you know what I mean? Like, bro, I got it. And then you're like, hey, relax, bro. And it's just like, that's a very Lebanese. I mean, the Lebanese people I've been around, it's like it could take like 15 minutes to pay the bill after. Yo, bro, I got it last time. Come on, man. It's just like arguing.
And then somebody just pulls a tarp off a DJ set and
then starts DJing in the restaurant.
Everybody parties. That's how I'm going to imagine Lebanon from now on. If I go ever and that doesn't happen to me,
I mean, I don't want to let you down. And he gave me homemade soap that his brother made.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. But I think sometimes like growing up outside of it, gives you this like zoomed out perspective and somehow you take on the culture more that like for your dad and your mom, it's kind of like, like your dad said, like, I don't know. It's like that fucking intersection. But for you, because you didn't grow up there, but you did grow up in the culture, it's almost like sometimes people like children of immigrants become more.
Yeah, I think
than their parents.
And I got that when I was there. I got the idea that like, they've lived a different experience than I have.
Yeah.
So they know some of the stuff that is not so fun and not so, warm or loving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I didn't experience, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. So
I was aware of that. And I'm still aware of it, but I mean, for me it was just such a sweet which I couldn't even explain to anyone when I got back, because I was in a relationship when I got back. So I was like even trying to explain to her. I was like, I couldn't even explain. But the people that were there when we got to meet my grandmother's cousin, it was like we all are never going to forget that experience. Like we all felt it. Like And Reem, Natalie, and Paul aren't related to my family, but when we were finding the house, it's just like you could just tell that this is an experience that we're going to share for the rest of our lives with each other. And we could not explain it to somebody else. It'd be like, they'd just be like, oh, that's a cool story. That's really cool. But the feeling we got when he was like, the house? And we're like, what? And then he took us to it. And then they all got to hear my mom on FaceTime. It's just like a wild... Yeah, we always will ever talk about it. We'll always, forever.
But I think that's also in a way because there's some pain attached to it as well, right? Like leaving and never having gone back. Like, that's like there's like, I don't know, that's kind of painful too, in a way. You know what I mean? I'm sure your parents are fine.
I mean,
but
no, they're not
fact
fine.
That they never went back, that says something about the...
I don't think they didn't go, I mean, I don't think they're
breakup.
fine. I mean, my mom, you know... She had told me on the FaceTime, she's like, oh, I used to take the neighborhood cat to the church. And I saw a cat and it was dirty. These cats are dirty, bro. They're just like in dirt. So, and she's like an extreme hypochondriac germaphobe. I was like, at 8 years old, I was like, was that the last time maybe she was like free from that? Because, you know, she got to Canada, her brother was a recovering heroin addict. So that's where she says she started to feel this hypochondriac cleaning thing is from her brother and the needles and stuff, which I believe is true, but there's probably other stuff. So I wonder if she stayed in Lebanon, would he have done, you know what I'm saying? Like, would she have been exposed to that? Well, my dad's like an alien. Like, I don't even know. Like, if he would have stayed there or in Canada, he's like an alien. So
Like
I
how?
can't
Like,
get
how
a
do you
read
mean?
on it. I mean, what has he done that's like... For one, he lied to my mom about his age when he got married, but about 2 years. It wasn't even like a 10-year gap. It was like a very psychotic number.
That's so... But why?
We don't know. Ask him, and he doesn't. We don't know. Like, I don't know what he's doing. He's eating a fortune cookie with a fortune in it. My favorite one, it was like... We all went to the mall one Christmas, or it wasn't even Christmas, this summer, and we're like 2 separate cars. We're like, Dad, we call him Bob. Bob, come in. He goes, no, man. I'm gonna sleep in the car. I'm tired. We're like, why'd you come here then? He goes, just forget it. So we go in the mall in our hometown and we turn a corner and he's there. Like, but we had run into our cousins and we're like, what the fuck? And then we didn't have time to be like, did you just not want to hang out with us? So you faked wanting to sleep in the car. So he's just like, yeah, I just think he's an alien. So I don't know where his head's at, whether he like would have loved to go back or, you know, he'd be happy on anywhere if you dropped him in like Chicago. He doesn't, you know, he's a very like, I don't know, he's a very, you know, I wouldn't say easygoing. Like, he's just like, he's a funny guy, breaks tension with his humor, doesn't really like, you know, he doesn't believe in therapy, thinks anxiety's bullshit.
That's that. Well,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
That's like such a big immigrant.
He's like, for
thing.
sure, like, he doesn't get it. Like, he'll look at you like this, he goes, but for what?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I think he goes, you deal with it and you move on.
Yeah. But
So
I
it's
mean,
like-
look, I think that for that, especially also that generation and immigrants that came here with, you know, nothing or they didn't have time for that.
No,
You know
and
what I'm saying?
we talk about that all the time, like us as like, you know, like older, you know, my cousins and my friends that come from that background. And yeah, it's like they didn't have time to.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, they move countries. People in New York will move from like Brooklyn to Queens and have a crisis.
Right. Have them fucking nervous breakdown.
What am I going to do, man? It's just like, you know,
Yeah.
I got to take this train now. So it's like, it's a different.
Yeah, I mean, my dad is a writer and an actor, so he's like an artist, but he also same. You know, he grew up so poor. He had to start working when he was 12. He's like, no, you work. That's always his answer. You know, it's like, yeah. No, it's fine, and write it down. Write everything down and work.
Yeah.
Work will answer your problems.
Well, yeah, I think that's what they didn't have time. Yeah, he had to raise us. He had to work and. You don't have time to be sad, I guess. But it is funny, though. He just is like so I don't really know his perspective at all because it's like wildly
Did you ever
different.
resent them, or were you like ever mad that they didn't take you to Lebanon, or like?
No, I don't know. Not really. You know, no, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I understood. I mean, when I was young, I didn't know. I do a joke about it now where I say he would tell me every year it's war. I go, how long are these wars? And you just make up like countries fighting each other, like a 3-way war. You're like, this doesn't make sense. So, but I mean,
You're like, let's go to Hawaii. No, war there too. There's war.
We weren't like really a vacation-y type family, like traveling wise. But I mean, they provided us a very good life. So I don't think it was like, why didn't you take me to Lebanon?
But the whole because you also have a podcast. It's a new podcast that you
With
do
Paul, yeah.
with Paul called Low Key Immigrants. So like the immigrant thing and a lot of the stand up that I've seen you do, you do a lot of stuff about being an immigrant or the child of immigrants. So it is like a big part of your life, no?
Yeah, no, it wasn't really at the beginning. I remember starting out in Canada and this one comic like that was like pretty revered in our community. And he's like one of the top ones in Canada. He was like, oh man, he's like, you're doing that immigrant thing. Or like what call it, he's a white dude. And I don't think he had any ill intention. He was like, you don't want to be like Russell. This is when, at the height, this is when Russell like was like, it's like to us, Russell's like a legend, man. So it was like, you know, they were like, he was like Russell. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to seem like I'm copying. So I got scared. So I was like, and I stopped doing my dad's accent. I was like doing it in a normal,
like in a normal, like,
yeah. So I got so paranoid because Russell was like Russell. He was so big, you know what I mean? Like he's a big, you know, it's like, you know, he's the top guy. So I was like, I don't want to copy that. And then I just felt insecure, and I just went. He's like, and that comic was like, you should just find your voice almost and be different. And I went and did. I tried to find my own voice. And then this comic, I'm working in Ottawa, his name's Jocko Alston. He had passed away. I was telling him a story off stage about my dad. And he was like, do you talk about that on stage? I go, no, man. And I told him the story. He goes, bro, you have to. And then he would see me. He's like, did you talk about it? And I don't know if I told him before or after he died. Like, I can't remember now. It was like a very long time ago. But he was the reason I started. And then I started, this is like 8 years into stand-up. So I never at the beginning ever did. And then I would just tell these stories about my father. And then it became a thing of like how I could speak through my stand-up to him.
Has he seen it?
Oh, always. He's always at shows. He's seen everything.
So he loves it?
Oh yeah, he'll tell me. Yeah, my brother will call me. My whole family calls me and tells me stories about him, so I can put it in the act. He's not like weird. He's like, yeah, that's me, man.
He's like, more. My dad's like that too. I do a lot about my dad, and my dad's always like, you should put this story in.
Yeah.
And then I'll do my dad. My dad has this like really funny laugh. He's like a big character. I kind of think my dad's an alien too. That's why I was like, how do you mean, you know? And then he'll be in the audience, and I'll do him, and then he'll like respond and laugh like that, and then the whole show will be about him being in the audience, and people just like,
my dad's done that. And it's, you know, in 2000 I think 10 or 11 he was diagnosed with cancer. So when I found that out, I was like talking about him even more, I think. And it was a way of like, he's not really that emotional. Now he is, which is funny because he's like sick. So he's like, I think he's like, man, I should really be emotional. But it's like weird to us because he'll be like on the phone, he's like, man, you know I love you. And we're like, yeah. I know, man. Okay. But he, so I would talk about him more because I could talk to him that way through that. So and then it just, I don't know, it just became fun. But at the beginning, I never did because of those insecurities. So now it's a bigger part of, because then also too, I just really got tired of like predominantly white comedians and white people who write about ethnic comedians being like, oh, here's another Middle Eastern or Arab comic doing his dad's voice. I go, but you wouldn't say that the other way. You're not reviewing like Sam Morril or these guys and being like, oh, he's doing his dad's voice. So like why are we held to, why can't, and what it does is that it discourages these younger comedians that are like from an ethnicity. I was talking to one, he's like, man, I don't want to do my Lebanese stuff because it's like, you know, the comics, like, who gives a shit about these comics, bro? This is your experience. This is like you should do right by yourself. It's just, these people don't matter. They're not paying your bills. They're not even hiring you for gigs. And it's like because I learned the hard way where I didn't do it because I was like insecure and I wanted to make the back of the room comedians like love me. But for what? The motherfuckers is broke. I'm gonna be sitting in the back room for the rest of my life being broke just because I did an abortion joke.
Yeah, it's high school. Like you want to be the cool kid, right?
Yeah,
like want
so
cool
it's
kids
like,
to like you.
I told him, man, just talk what you want to, man. If whatever you love talking about. If your dad has an accent and you want to do it for the whole 45, I feel if you're cheapening it though, if it's cheap, if you're purposely cheapening cheapening the whole thing as an ethnic comedian, then might be a problem if it's like, but if it's authentic, it's coming truly from your heart, then there's nothing wrong with that.
But also the thing about it is that like, and then people in the audience watch it, and it doesn't matter that like it's a dad from Lebanon because it's like all that stuff is universal, you know.
I'll tell you that. That's how I know my brothers when they send me clips of comedians. That's how I know what's going on. It's like these kids, they don't care. You can't talk comedy shop with my brothers. They don't give a shit about comedy.
But I mean, like, in that sense, it's like it's not like tropey for an ethnic comedian to do their dad's accent because it doesn't really matter that the dad has an accent. It's a different experience, but it's universal at the same time.
But you know how it is. It's just hard for they're starting out and they want to.
I went through the same thing. Like I remember watching John Leguizamo's special Freak.
It's amazing.
And which was like I was like
everything
so
he does is
obsessed with
amazing,
it.
yeah.
And like he comes out in the beginning and he goes, all my black people meow, all my Latin people like bark, and all the white people. And then he says like a really long sentence in Spanish that they can't repeat, so everybody laughs. So like now he's like established his community, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh damn, like what am I gonna do? Like all the German, Romanian, Jewish people that don't know where the fuck they're from and like grew up here and there, And I was like, oh, I wish I was like that. And it took me so long to like understand, like, no, just do what is like you say, authentic to you, and then it becomes universal anyway. That's what I mean. You know?
And it's like you even see it in TV. There's like a TV show that's out of Canada called Letterkenny. And it's like really about small towns in Canada, and it's like universal now because everyone can.
The more specific it is, the more universal it is, you know? And I thought that was really crazy. Like I did my first show all about my family, and people would come to me after and be like, oh, I related to this and that without being immigrants, without having any of that background. So I think like the more specific you are, the more you do stuff from your heart, the more people can connect to it.
Yeah, because in the end, it's just family and relations with your family and love, which everyone has.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Some don't.
So we're sorry
Sorry
for the
that.
orphans listening.
Yeah.
But we can be your family. Wait, so they were never bothered by you wanting to be a comedian. They never wanted you to be.
That's why I think
the immigrant
I have,
thing. Like you need to be this
I
or
had
that.
unique parents, man. They don't give a shit. My dad didn't even
What
like.
did they do?
My dad worked at Ford's Motor Company for so long and then retired, and my mom just kind of was like a stay-at-home mom, which also, too, I feel now is like people look at that as like demeaning to women. It's just like, my mom held it down.
Yeah.
My mom, I don't trust my dad with food. I didn't trust that guy with anything in the house. My mom held it down more than just as much as a woman on Wall Street or so. She held it down for us. But
that's the thing. That's exactly the thing. What I think is so crazy is that like now people kind of say to be a feminist or to be a strong woman, you have to be a man. And I'm like, no, you can still be a woman. You can still cry when you get angry and be a strong woman. You know what I mean? Or
man,
like
my mom, I'm telling you, my mom held it down so much more than I think if in that household that my dad could have ever done. Not that take anything away from it. There's no way.
I'm sure.
And in a way different time.
Yeah.
And then now people just, and with lack of technology.
Yeah.
Like she was, you know what I'm saying? She cooking for 3 days, not sleeping, like doing, and now, women look at that as like, oh, it's even when you talk about it, they come at you sideways, like you disrespecting women. You're like, no, I mean, like my mom, it was the closest thing I feel you have to God. Mm-hmm. So she's like, she held it down, and then he went and worked, and then supplied us with that. But yeah, she didn't work. He retired, I think 10 years ago and stuff. I think they forced him into retirement. But he also, when I was like, I'm gonna be a comedian, it was like he knew. He was, yeah, man. Like he didn't even have a motivating opinion or a discouraging. He was like, yeah, man. Like he just almost like, I think my whole family didn't really care because they knew I wanted. My mom was, when I was younger, I was like, did you know I want to do this? She's like, yeah, I think you just wanted to be an entertainer. She's like, I think it's in you anyways. So I don't, she's like, all she asked for, she goes, Dave, just go get an education for me. And I did. I graduated from St. Clair College, which is even the funnier thing of it is that I graduated from. So the first year I was waiting for my best friend Hugo to come. He took a year off of high school. So I took I think advertising, and it was grueling. And then Hugo goes, "Yo, I'm coming to college." I go, "Yeah." So I was like, "What program you taking?" He goes, "Marketing." I go, "I'll switch." Just didn't even care. Then they were confused. The advertising. They're like, "But you're doing good." I go, "Yeah, but Hugo's coming." I think I even said Hugo's coming. My best friend.
I love that.
That I can't be without. Hugo drops out after he does one semester, so now I'm stuck. Not stuck.
Oh shit!
And I meet Jad and Will. Will's from Canada. Jad's from Lebanon. And then we would study. We would like do all this stuff. And I think it was a program of 2 years. And then in the third year, they mashed the two different programs together to do the final third. And I was going to stop. And Jad was like, no. He's like, stay, man. I'll help you. And I was like, all you have to do is tell me stories. Like, I don't know. And then Will was like, bro, there's this girl, Tina. And he was talking about her, and I stayed for those two reasons. I was like, "Yo, let me see Tina."
So funny.
And I graduated, and then years later, George Rabideau, a classmate, messaged me. He's like, "Hey man, I submitted you for like alumni of excellent student." I was like, "What for? What?" He goes, "For like comedy and acting." I go, "But I took marketing." He goes, "Whatever." Right. This is before the pandemic. And then I think the VP called me from the St. Clair College. He goes, "Hey, man, you got in." They were going to do like a ceremony. It's me and some other students. And then the COVID hit, and then they sent you an award. We did it virtually. And then they put my picture with the rest of the students in the hallway.
What?
So I went back to the school to take pictures. I was like, this is insane. Because I remember cheating in college,
They like
too.
have a statue of you erected in front of the college. You're like the new fucking mascot.
Well, it was like,
It's like, I was only here because of Hugo.
Well, yeah, I was. And then another student that I went to school with, he works at the school now. So he sent me a picture. He goes, "Dude, I'm sitting across from your picture." And then my niece just got accepted on a half a scholarship for soccer, and she's going to that school.
And everybody's like, "Oh, you're."
Well, I mean, I think they have a different last name. She don't care, man. She's like one of those kids that don't like those cool 18-year-olds that don't give a shit. But she was like, that's trippy to me. So I did get an education for her, but then I went and spoke to the graduating students this past June, and I bombed.
You bombed?
The mic wasn't working.
What did you say? What was your like message? What was like the core of your
I think it was just like, I said, even though I went into acting and comedy, I learned how to learn certain tools out of college, like dedication, planning, work ethic. So you should take that with you, because I didn't use my diploma. I used marketing to market myself, but the mic wasn't working. And then when I bounced back, I think I did this joke. I go, "I know most of you are looking at me like, why doesn't this guy do a TikTok?" And I just tanked because they all look like they were 18. And then I got out of there quick, but it was just like surreal. It was just pretty trippy because I never intended.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, she was always supportive. Like they come to shows, like my whole family. It was not a bump like other Middle Eastern comics that I know that had to hide it.
Yeah.
Not my mom and dad were like, they still are like, "Whatever, man, do your thing." Now they watch everything. Like they'll watch Ramy as a family. They'll watch anything I tell them to do. They'll come to shows and stuff. Any award I've gotten, or article, I've given it to my mom. Like,
And she keeps them.
She does. There's
That's
stuff around the
nice.
house. Yeah.
So did you ever take acting classes? Because you're such a good actor, and most comedians, like, sadly, you're like, damn, you're funny, but you're just not that good of an actor. But you're like a really good actor. Did you take acting classes?
I did, but not a lot. I think
You're like, Hugo was in an acting class.
Hugo was, yeah, and I went and followed. Me and Hugo. Hugo was my teacher.
I'm like picturing this brain surgeon. People are like, how did you? It's like, my friend Hugo was a brain surgeon. I love, and
I'm still friends with Hugo. He was just at a show with me, and
what does he do now?
Hugo, I think, works with like program, like I want to say youth programs. I think, but he just. It's sadly also, and he told me in high, it's just we like, he was my boy, but we just, I left Windsor and went to Toronto, but we stayed in touch, and now I think our relationship's just as strong because we reconnected, and he's so supportive. He comes to shows, but I think for acting, I always wanted to act. Even like I just didn't really vocalize it to my comedian friends, I think, because I was like, I don't know why I didn't think they would want that information, but I just was like, secretly I was like gonna do stand up, find my voice, and that's how I thought I was gonna get acting roles. I was like, because I in the end just wanted to, but but I mean that's why I also should have took acting classes earlier.
Okay. I
think
got you.
I had the intention of always acting and ending up always in the end I wanted to act, like almost like what Jim Carrey and Robin Williams did,
Right.
and Martin Lawrence did. Those are like people I looked up to.
Yeah.
Not leave stand up, but that was just my end goal. So I think there's a willingness that I wanted. I'm not saying, and I think that helps me in a sense because it was always in my mind. Not does it make me better or anything like or adds to my. I'm trying to. I don't know how to.
No, you wanted it. Yeah,
I wanted it.
I think that.
So I was willing
matters.
to like be vulnerable, willing to like accept it. Like I wasn't scared. I'm nervous about it still. Like I have like but I was like, yeah, get
And
me
you
on.
love it.
I love it. So I think that helps maybe make me at least good a little bit because I have this willingness and that's where I think because I've taken not a bunch of like before we filmed season 1 I took classes and then in between season 1 and 2 I took classes for Ramy and then I did a sitcom in Canada the last 2 seasons of that show. I think it ran for 8 years and that was a show called Mr. D and Jerry D actually. I had opened for him, and he was like, "Hey man, I might have a role for you as a new teacher, just a show about teachers." And then he really gave me my first shot in an actual sitcom, and I thank him for the rest of my life. It was like I did 2 summers. They shot it in this city called Halifax. It was like wonderful summers, but he really helped me get comfortable. At least I didn't know any. I remember I didn't know about switching cameras, which is so stupid. I should know. And I'm in the scene with the other actor, but we're doing 2 different scenes. So we do the one scene, but I didn't realize they just switched to his coverage. So I start doing the next scene, and he's just staring at me. And the whole time I'm like, yo, why is this guy not rebuttaling? And then they go cut, and the director runs over. He goes, Dave, come here, man. And I was like, oh. And I walk. He takes me to the side. He goes, we're still on the old scene. And I go, oh, shit. He goes, happens to the best of us. And just put his arm on me. So he was very kind.
To the best of us, you're fired.
Yeah. So I didn't really, I learned through that kind of thing. But now I, should take more, and I plan to take more acting classes.
And that's like the goal too, to do movies or write your own movies.
Yeah, I mean, last year I got the chance to do a movie that with Daisy Ridley called "Sometimes I Think About Dying," and that was last year around this time. I shot it. It was like a co-lead thing in Oregon, and that was always been the dream. So it did happen. I was like, oh shit, man, it took long.
More of that.
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks, and it was like you're in a different place, and you just live there. You know what I mean? You just, and I love that idea of kind of disappearing for 2 or 3 months and doing. It was tough. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, excuse me, because I never had that much scenes. I get because on Ramy it's like a supporting actor and like.
Right, to like carry a movie.
I mean, if I sucked, I would bring the whole thing down. Right? So I was dealing with that anxiety, and thank God the director and the producer and Daisy herself, really, really were giving. Like they really, really, really helped, and I learned so much from her because she's so amazing. And to be in multiple scenes just with me and her, I was like, man, it was like you're working with the best, and it only makes you better and stuff like that. And in this season on Ramy, with Ramy's help, and then Ham, she's the mom on the show. She directed the episode that was based for my character, and she taught me so much about acting and elevated me way, way more. So it's like, I guess those are classes as well.
Yeah. Do you feel like you kind of want you said one of the things you think is very Lebanese is the pride? Do you feel like does part of you feel like you want to represent Lebanon or Lebanese people? You know what I'm saying? Some people are like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that. I'm just me. And then for some people, it's like, oh, I want, this is also part of my mission to
I mean, I just want to, I want to be as authentic to myself as I am and stuff. I love my culture.
Yeah.
So anytime I get a chance to talk about it, I will. But you know what I mean? But I'm not gonna do something that's not me. I'm not gonna overly extend myself to show you that I'm Lebanese. You know what I'm saying? But I'm very proud of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I always ask my guests for a saying or something they grew up with. You were saying earlier
that your dad says something to your mom always.
Yeah, my brother had told me this. I think she was yelling at him, and he goes, "Her name's Layla." He goes, "Layla, man, talk to me nice." And they all started dying.
But I feel like that's like from a song or
It
something, right?
It's like I think
What
a
is
Drake
that?
song.
It's a
Because
Bad
there's
Bunny song.
That's hilarious. There's a rapper that named Baka Not Nice. And I think Drake was in a song. He's like, "Talk to me nice" or something like that.
Yeah.
And like some kind of like rant he was doing. And I was laughing. But I mean, also my mom, a lot of the times would say Habibi in text or Hayate. Hayate is like, I think it's my love, but like there was things like that.
Okay, I found some that I thought were funny too. I don't know if you've ever heard these. So, may your butt bury me. It has it like written out like this. Do you understand what that means?
Oh, I know Tizak, yeah.
Have you ever heard this? May your butt bury
Probably,
me.
yeah. Go sweep in the desert.
Go sweep the desert. I thought was so poetic and beautiful. And may your spit be wrecked.
We went salad.
We went salad means like you went nuts,
Oh yeah, some of
which
them
makes
I've heard.
sense because I guess you like.
I can't
What is it
read
called?
Arabic though. I want you to know.
Okay.
I can understand everything, but reading it is like a disaster.
This is like the phonetic, right?
Oh.
I think.
Go sweep the desert.
I don't know.
I mean, that's a task in hand to go sweep the desert.
Yeah, so that means go do something that's impossible.
Whoa.
I think that's what that saying means.
I mean, it's
It's
very
so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so poetic.
Go sweep the desert.
Go sweep the desert. Like if someone says that to you, you're like, damn, fuck.
As a good thing or a
You
bad
think?
thing.
I think it's a bad thing. Like, yeah, fucking go. Why don't you go fucking sweep the desert? You know
Yeah, I
what
think
mean?
I'll start using that.
In a good way.
No. Just pure evil.
Yes.
Just to hurt someone's feelings.
I love it. I love that. Like it's an impossible task that will never, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go sweep the
You go
desert.
sweep the desert.
Yeah, that's good. Like that with no smile.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and then lastly, Dave, we do something here called the poll questionnaire. Have you heard of the Proust questionnaire?
The poos? You say the poos?
The poo questionnaire? No, the Peru.
No.
Yes, the poo questionnaire.
The
How many
Peru?
times
Wait,
do you
the
fucking
Peru,
poo?
like Peru, the country.
Proust, the French philosopher man.
No, sorry.
Writer.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
I have to brush up on my philosophers.
Dave Merheje of Windsor, Canada. Are you ready for the poll
Yeah.
questionnaire?
Yeah.
Okay. If you were casting a movie about the Statue of Liberty, who would you cast as the Statue of Liberty?
Like what? Like to play the Statue of Liberty? Would
Yeah.
they just be just doing that?
I don't know. It's your movie.
Would they? What is it? Not Jenna? Is it Jennifer Hudson? No, Jennifer. With Lauren.
Oh, Jennifer Lawrence? I think
Jen-
Jennifer Hudson would be better. Why does it have to be like a white, blonde person?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I get canceled.
You're canceled.
No, hold on. I got this.
It could be the guy
Oh,
from your
what's-
village.
No,
Suf-
it's
what was
what's
his name?
Viola Davis.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
she's a
I like that.
impeccable
Oh,
actress.
yeah.
She's
That's true.
crazy good. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, Viola Davis.
100%.
I love it. Okay. If you could deport one American person, who would you deport?
I'd deport people on TikTok that give you advice about being a man. Those guys stink. Hey man, this always is. Hey man, did she leave you? Then fuck her, dude. This is what you gotta do. You gotta get in the gym, get tattoos, get a nice car, and really make her feel it, man. You're like, what about a hug? What about processing your emotions?
I just want to cry.
Yeah, those guys, I would deport them.
Okay, perfect. I
Yeah.
love it. Deport the TikTok advice giving man club. What's the most Lebanese thing you've ever done?
I guess I don't know how I guess when I bring a pita bread sandwich somewhere that there's not pita bread sandwiches. I guess in
Okay.
school when we were growing up, my mom packed a lunch and you just bring it out and everyone's looking at you. Yeah, I guess that's the
Yeah, PETA in the 90s. That wasn't a thing in the
or
90s.
smoke cigarettes in Lebanon on a balcony.
That's
I felt like
nice.
everyone was doing that.
I remember my mom would give me yogurt. And in the 90s, nobody ate yogurt. That wasn't a thing yet, like a widespread
Oh, yeah,
thing.
yeah.
People be like, "What is
We
that?"
have Lebanon.
You guys
I
have
love
Lebanon.
Lebanon, but yeah.
I love that stuff too. What's the most Canadian thing you've ever done?
I'm probably saying tomorrow in America. Going to the house tomorrow. Like, that's hella Canadian.
If you were president of the United States of America, what American food would you ban?
You know those shredded potatoes that you get at a diner? Like when the potatoes comes like thin, shredded? I hate that.
Oh, what is that called?
It's just potatoes, but the style of it.
Hash browns.
Is
Isn't
it
it
hash
called
browns?
hash browns?
Yeah,
I think it's hash browns.
I get that the fuck out of here.
But potatoes and other forms are
Mashed
okay.
potatoes is fire all the way. I love,
also
love
curly
fries. Yeah, it's
waffle
all fire.
fries,
Waffle fries, they can get fucked too.
cheese fries.
Yeah, Nathan McIntosh is one of my favorite comedians. He always goes, "Get fucked." That's where that came
Okay,
from.
those can get fucked. All right. 2 more questions. If you could add one face to Mount Rushmore, whose face would you add?
Like, who's on Mount Rushmore anyways?
Presidents.
It's all, I have to add a president?
No, you don't have to add a president. It's
I'd add
4.
Denzel Washington up there.
Really?
Denzel
I
Washington.
love that.
Yeah, man, getting advice from Denzel Washington, probably got to be the best.
Yeah,
And
that's
motivating, yeah.
Okay, last question, Dave. Do you know how I can meet David Hasselhoff? I'm sorry, I can't ask you this with a straight face. Do you know how I can meet David Hasselhoff?
I mean, we don't know. Do we know where he is location-wise?
Probably in Malibu.
I mean, you'd have to like stay in Malibu for a month. I would like research what he likes and what he does, and like I'd have like a team, probably like a team of 4 people, and you would just like, you know, it's all. I mean, this is a crime, but like scope out places, find out what he likes. It's like a heavy research, and then maybe you can find him like if he has a particular bookstore. If you found out he likes to read and you scope, then you just kind of have to scope out and then you run into him.
I love that the thing that you associate with David Hasselhoff is a bookstore.
I don't even know if he could read.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say no. That was one of the most thorough and thoughtful answers I've ever gotten.
For the David.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have a team. It's like a...
No, that's like you really put yourself in those shoes.
If I was going to try to meet David, I would.
That was
yeah.
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I feel closer to meeting him now after that answer. Dave Merheje, where can people find you on social media? Not looking at fucking advice-giving TikTok boys.
Also, TikToks, when you go through a breakup, TikTok, every other video is how to deal with like, hey man, did she leave you? I go, this algorithm sucks. It's so painful. It's like not helping. I go, man, just leave me alone. I don't need the internet to tell me. But I guess I'm barely on TikTok. I think my page stinks. I hate it. I respect people doing TikTok and winning off of it, but I personally just don't like doing it. It gives me anxiety. But you can find me on Instagram, Dave Merheje. I would say. Well, I mean, no, it's just Dave Merheje. It's not. I would say add it on there. I think I'm on Facebook, but I mean, my ex would be like, "You're on Facebook?" I'm like, "It's for old people." I go, "I'm 42. I'm following."
Yeah, it's appropriate.
Yeah, which is always weird when someone goes, "What do you?" I'm like, what are you, a bully?"
Yeah, exactly.
Let me just talk to my mom on Facebook.
They're like, "Okay, boomer."
Yeah,
like, what the fuck is that?
And then DaveMerheje.com. I think people still have websites, but more importantly, watch season 3 of Ramy on Hulu. I would say.
And then also you tour, and you're in New York doing shows, and you do shows in LA and in Canada all the time.
Always probably more in Canada.
And I Love You, Habibi is available where?
Oh,
Not
right
yet?
now it's only in Canada. Sorry,
Okay.
it's a place. It's unless you want to. What do they call VPN? Illegally download the fuck out of it. You could. I support all that Wait, would I get arrested by supporting it?
No,
It doesn't matter.
I don't
But
think so. Good friend.
Grammar.
Bad
That's an old
grammar.
one, but I mean that's on like the audio is on Apple and Spotify. Like, but the video it's on I think Amazon Prime.
Oh, and then also you're on Comedians of the World on Netflix.
Yeah,
People
that's
can
an
watch
old one
that.
too. Yeah.
Season 3 of Ramy, season 1 and 2 as well. Watch all of it.
I watch. Yeah, if you haven't watched 1 and 2, watch it. But season 3 is by far it's elevated. You should really, really watch it.
All right, cool. Well, and on that, thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Sam for producing for us today. Thank you to patrons douchebag Steve. Thank you. Craig, and all you other people out there. Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, please give us a little 5-star review, a rating. If you like to tell your friends, if you hated it, tell your enemies. I'm Lucie Pohl, your host. We love you so much. Follow Dave. Good night.
If you like what you just heard, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, recommend to all your friends. And if you hated it, recommend it to your enemies. Thank you for listening to Immigrant Jam, the podcast with me, Lucie Pohl. Have a delicious and nutritious day.